So some of you guys might know him, some of you guys might not. The gentleman that I've been speaking to is another very high level individual that I am very grateful to be in the Rolodex of people that he knows and that I know. Some of you might cry by the end of today. We'll see
No.
how he's feeling. But we call him Crying Creighton, and he's a high performance and a mindset coach. So without further ado, we have Sir Creighton.
George
How's
is
your
already
week?
crying. See, I like that. Crying from laughter is way better. I don't get that. I mean, why can't I be comedy Creighton where I make people cry because they're laughing so hard? That sounds like a way better moniker than being the person that makes people break down and cry emotionally. But
Well, let's switch it up.
let's see. Yeah, my it's funny because actually, what's so crazy is uh I'm really good at doing physical things. Like, I've done a thing where I ran 48 miles in 48 hours, doing the cold plunge, like doing all these things extreme are easy for me to force my body to do stuff. But my brother, he actually is a stand-up comedian and he does improv stuff. And I'm just like, dude, I don't know how you ever do that. Like, I will force myself to physically be exhausted or hurt myself, but going up on stage and bombing in front of a crowd of people, like that just sounds crazy. And he says that's literally how he started, is they train you to go up on stage and just get comfortable in bombing. It's and which is such a beautiful thing, I think, for everything in life. Instead of, trying to succeed at the beginning, like I always talk about, you have to suck in order to succeed. And so he says that that's literally what they train you to do. One of his first jokes that he talked about is he said, you and talk about insane, like this is insane, I don't even think I could do this. But his first thing was he went up on stage to do a stand-up comedian joke, and he didn't even have a good joke set up or anything, so he went up on stage and he talked about the first time that he masturbated in front of a group of tons of people. Nobody laughed. He totally bombed. But again, he ripped the band-aid off. He got the worst thing out of the way so nothing else would be terrible. And it reminds me of, I remember one time my dad taking me driving. We had this old 1972 Jeep Commando with no power steering. And so it was just a beast to drive. And we took it up in the mountains, and there's these huge, deep, deep ruts up in the mountains. And then there's a sheer cliff. And he's like, well, if you can drive here, you can drive anywhere. So go ahead and take off. And I'm just like, what? But I think that's just such a good example. I think so many of us are just so afraid of facing the fear that we do so much productive procrastination or whatever. But what if we flip the script and be like, oh my gosh, all I have to do is face the thing that I'm so afraid of because it's so much easier on the other side. So,
it's
anyway,
it's almost like going back to the inner child, if that makes sense. Man, I remember being younger and being out on the bike, and then you come up and you see like a huge slope that's nothing but gravel. And you don't even think twice about it. You just go for it and hope that you don't, you know, end up with your other knee missing the whole layer of skin or anything like that. I feel like we lose it at some point along the way
yeah.
before we get to the point to where we're at now.
Yeah, I mean, it gets beat out of us. I mean, I think usually around, I mean, if you've done a lot of the inner child work or studied a lot of the psychology stuff, like usually around 7 or 8 is where we start getting our perceptions of what our environment and reality is. And so at 7 or 8, I mean, think about your life. Like, think how many times in your life that you've heard, no, you can't do that, or be careful. Like, no one's ever like, hey, go jump off that cliff, or hey, go do something crazy. Everyone, and it's rightfully so, it's ingrained in our DNA to keep us alive. And I talk about this a lot, that your brain is wired for survival, not for thriving. And that's why so many of us have issues, is like we're literally looking at every situation, everything. Is this gonna keep me alive, or is this gonna make me thrive? And all we care about is, how can I stay protected? How can I not face the fears? Because the way that we were wired was the fear meant we could actually die or get eaten by a saber-toothed tiger or something like that. We don't understand making a phone call or asking for the sale isn't the same thing as a saber-toothed tiger, but that's all our brain knows. So
I know it's really interesting to think, interesting thing to think about. Um, that's one of those things. Put you up on a pedestal just for a quick second. Say it's one of those things that I admire about you because you have a very interesting story, at least as far as I'm concerned, of kind of what brought you all the way up to the point to where you changed everything around from what you were doing, and that lack of fulfillment that kind of threw you at doing something completely different, and now you're just a beast out there, helping people on their journey break through a lot of a lot of mental blocks and barriers.
yeah, so I mean, I'll start, I guess, if anyone wants to know. Hi, my name's Creighton Bertrand. I'm a recovering engineer. I was an engineer, and you want to talk about a job that prevents you from facing fears or facing unknowns. Like engineering was the perfect, comfortable bubble because with engineering, you plan, you predict, you prevent, and you literally prevent yourself from ever failing. Like that's, and I'm grateful for it because that's the function as an engineer. When I was doing my engineering in aerospace, like if I'm analyzing an airplane and the repairs on these airplanes, like there is no room for air because then the plane will fall apart. And obviously, we don't want that, which is great for that. But then once you come into the real world and experience life, it was so hard for me to understand that I can't be in control, that I can't prevent, that I can't do all these things. So I just stayed in my comfortable bubble, like for my whole engineering career. And no wonder why, now that I've studied so much psychology and human behavior stuff, no wonder why I was so depressed. So my story was I became an engineer because I craved success, I craved status. My whole story, if you go back to inner child stuff, was like if I wasn't the best, then I didn't get attention, and if I didn't get attention, then I wasn't loved and I wasn't good enough. So my whole life growing up, I had grew up in a big family, so there was 7 kids, so that's why I was always striving for attention because whoever was the best or whoever was getting the best grades or was the best at sports, like they're the ones that are like, oh, yeah, I see you. So at 7, 8, that became a core memory. In order to be seen, you have to be the best. So that's what I strove for my entire life was like, how can I be the best at sports? How can I be the best in school? How can I be the best? Because if I'm the best, then I get the attention and then I finally feel like I'm worthy. But for a minute, it's literally like a drug of like, cool, I got that hit. Hey, I was good for a second. Let me go get the next hit. And then you go strive and you achieve something else and you get your engineering degree. And then everyone's like, oh my gosh, you're amazing. You're like, yeah, that's awesome. And then it goes away. And then you're like, okay, I got to get it again. And so for me, I became an engineer. And then once I got into engineering, it was like, who's the smartest in here? And they're like, oh, these stress guys, these stress analysts, they get paid the most and they're the most sought after. I'm like, that's what I'm going to be. So I became that. It took me a couple years. And then it became that. And it was like, okay, well, now life's adult. Like, what next? And then it was like, oh, okay, well, try to move up, get into this group. So I got into that group. And every time it was so fleeting. It was like, I was just chasing the goal, chasing the goal. But like what James and I were talking at the beginning, it wasn't really my goal. I was only chasing the goal because I wanted to fill this emotional void of not feeling like I was good enough. And so I just kept chasing and chasing. And every time I got the goal, it was just so empty because one, I didn't know who I was or why I wanted the goal. I was just letting my feelings dictate all my actions. And so fast forward, I was an engineer. Um, I think I was about 30 at the time. Yeah. So I got out of school. I was 24. At 24, I started to do something which is funny. So here's a thing for everybody. When I got out of school as an engineer, I did mechanical engineering. I really wanted to do prosthetics. I wanted to help people. I wanted to help people walk and do prosthetics. So I got into prosthetic engineering, got out of school, went down to LA, which is where I met my wife. and I was doing prosthetics, which was awesome, but I was only getting paid $9 an hour. I actually made more money as a bartender and a server or a waiter than once I actually got my engineering degree. So this is what happened. I'm doing what I actually enjoyed. I love doing prosthetics because I got to design the prosthetics. I took them to the manufacturer, watched them manufacture them, and help with that. And then I took it to the practitioners that put these prosthetics on people. So I got to see the whole circle, got to see people walk on the prosthetics that I was making, that I was designing. It was so fulfilling and so awesome. So you would probably ask, like, okay, cool. Why are we even having this conversation? Why aren't you doing that? Because I was getting $9 an hour. And so at that moment, I stopped focusing on what I wanted and I focused on what I wanted, which was more money. And so I was like, oh my gosh, I need more money because I was living in LA. And so I started to look for jobs and I put my resume out there. And all of a sudden, be careful what you ask God for, he'll give it to you. And so I got a call from an aerospace company, which I hated aerospace. I remember aerospace coming into our school, and I was like, man, that sounds like such a terrible job just to sit at a desk and work for a big corporation. But here I was being literally a prostitute of like, hey, I'll do whatever I can for money. And so they had me come in, they did an interview, and they're like, hey, we're going to pay you. I was 24 at the time. They're like, hey, yeah, come in. We got a position for you. You'll make 100 grand a year. As a 24-year-old kid, I was like, oh my gosh, this is phenomenal. Because the normal salary for an engineer at the time was like 60. So I was like, oh my gosh, 100,000, like this is going to be amazing. And then once I got there, they're like, hey, do you want more money? I'm like, absolutely, I do. Like, cool, you can just work some overtime and do this. And so from 24 to about 30, I was making like 150,000 a year living in LA, which was a phenomenal, because I was making so much money that we would go out on the weekend to Hollywood and go get bottle service, which was like 2 to 3 grand for a bottle. And I was living life, or at least so I thought. Um, so I did that. And then fast forward, I was about 30 and I had all this success. I had all this money, but I was so like, I just really wasn't happy. And, um, and it wasn't, it's interesting because when I was 30, um, we had my daughter. My daughter uh, was the first thing that I had. And I'll try not to cry. But I had my daughter, and I remember holding my daughter at the hospital, and it was so crazy because here was the thing that I didn't have to do anything. I mean, realistically, it was one act and it was a pretty quick show, but all I had to do was one thing to get this baby, and I didn't have to be anyone. And I finally felt like I felt like I was good enough for a moment while I was holding my daughter. Like I finally felt like so much love, and it just blew me away. Like, how can this thing that was free, how is this thing that I didn't have to work for make me feel so happy? And so at 30, that's when I thought something was wrong with me. I thought I was broken. And when I was in college for mechanical engineering, I did an extra year of OChem because I was always fascinated with chemistry. And I also did an extra year of anatomy physiology. So the human body has always fascinated me. But at 30, I decided to use my understanding of human stuff and chemistry to really understand what's going on inside of our minds. So from 30 to now, I'm 41. So the last 11 years, I've been studying psychology, human behavior, neuroscience to figure out really what's going on. Because I thought that I was broken at 30. Little did I know, the more I studied, that I was just a human being having a human experience. And really, what it came down to was like what James and I were talking about. Like, I was not doing what I wanted to do. So, how would I ever be fulfilled or happy in anything I did? That I was just chasing all these external goals that were everyone else's, but none of them were really mine. Yeah, living 100% without purpose. And the problem is I didn't know. Like I thought I was doing great because I got into engineering. I was making a good salary, and that wasn't enough. And then I think it was around 30 while I was starting to figure out this psychology, all this brain stuff, that I was like, you know what? I know what the problem is. I'm smart. I just need more success because the hundreds of thousands of dollars I was making as an engineer wasn't enough. Let me get into real estate because successful people have real estate. So I was like, cool, let me go do that. So then I started to get into real estate and I started to buy and hold properties. And then after I did buy and hold, I ran out of money, and then I started a wholesale business thinking that that's what I needed to do. So I did wholesaling for a couple years, and we were doing really good. And then we're like, oh, well, why don't we do fix and flip with the wholesale, because we're giving these deals to other people. So then I started to do fix and flip, and we did that. And then I just, again, those were all just external things that really, I was only doing it for the money. And so fast forward 13 years into my engineering is when I finally had the courage to quit. And for me, there's, I forget who it is, but there's a quote that pain pushes until your vision pulls you. And so I finally had enough pain in my life from doing engineering that I was like, I will do anything but this. And so that's when I quit. It was about 5 years ago. I quit my engineering to do what I do now, which is the coaching stuff. So um, that's kind of how I got into what it is that I get to do now. Um, so I don't know. And it's funny because I was actually doing a coaching call inside of a real estate group today. And people always will ask this, that they'll always want to know, like, what are the tactics? And I don't know if this is stuff that you guys run into, but I see this so many times. Like, what's the hack? What's the trick? What's the tactic? And the analogy I love to give people is it's like your name. Oh yeah, yeah, Beckwith. He's the I want to say agape. I think it's agape. This is the big love religion thing. But yeah. Um, but knowing your name is such a good example of anything. Like when you're given a paper when you were younger, let's say like 7, 8, when they go to school and they put down what's the first thing you have to do. It says name, and then there's a blank spot. You don't have to think about what's the tactic. You don't have to think about how do I do this. You don't have to think how can I be consistent. Like, you know who you are. And when you know who you are, you know what it is that you do. And when you know what it is that you do, you can finally be consistent. And when you're able to be consistent, that's how you finally get the confidence. And so for so many people are always like, oh, what's the tactic? What's the trick? What's this? And I'm sure James talks about this. Like, it's clarity, always clarity. Because most of the reason, because if you get to the root of it, most people are like, oh, I want this script, or I need the tactic. Why? Well, because I'm afraid of failing, or I'm afraid of them judging me, or I'm afraid of insert any feeling. That's the real issue. And most of us are always at the surface level of like, oh, tell me the script, or tell me the list, or tell me this thing. And you only want that because you don't want to feel the negative emotion that you associate that this thing's going to help you achieve. And so I always talk to people like, yeah, we can stay at the surface level and I can give you the tactic, I can give you the script, I can give you the thing, but we're just putting lipstick on a pig or putting a band-aid on a huge wound. That, yeah, we might fix this now. And I'll use a real estate analogy for a lot of people. They're like, oh my gosh, if I just had the script, then I'd be able to call. Be like, cool, here's the script, now go call. Well, they don't do it. Or maybe they do start calling, but then they get to the next level. Because the beginning, when you start in real estate, it's like, okay, I got a cold call. Then after that, now you need to close that deal. And then you're afraid. What if they reject me? What if they say this? What if this? What if, okay, what's the script for closing? All right, here's the script. Okay, cool. I got that. Then what? Well, now I need to get private money. And now you need a script for that. But what if we broke all that down and just got to the foundation of you not worrying about failing, or you not worrying about what this other person says? No different than you don't worry when someone asks you, what's your name? You're just like, this is my name. And if someone's like, you know what, I don't think you're a Creighton, you look like a Brittany or like a Bob or like a Jim, you're just like, okay, that's cool. Like, my name's Creighton. They're like, no, I don't think so. I'm pretty sure it's not. And you're just like, all right, dude, you're crazy. But you don't let that affect you. But most of us are going through life letting people tell us what our name is. We go do the cold call, we do the thing, and we fail. And now we tell ourselves, oh my gosh, I failed, therefore I am a failure. Or the person on the other side of the phone says, hey, I think you're an idiot. I don't think you know what you're doing. Now you say, okay, that's my identity. But when you have clarity of who you are and what you want, I guarantee that you'll know what it is that you're going to do. You'll know how to actually be consistent. And from that, you're actually going to start to build the confidence in your life that you're probably looking for. I don't know if
I love
that's
that.
What's that?
I love that you just said that. Being clear with who, getting in touch with yourself to be clear of who you are, to be able to understand what you want.
100%.
It's
Because if you know what
it
your name is, you know what to write down. And most people, like, I mean, that was me with an engineer. I didn't know what I really wanted. So, like, I just let everyone tell me. Like, literally, everyone's like, well, you should be an engineer because they're successful. You should get into real estate. I'm like, literally, be like me going out on a daily basis and being like, hey, people, what do you think my name is? Be like, I think you're Brittany. I'd be like, okay, cool. I'm a Brittany today. And then I try it on for a while and I'm like, you know what? I don't really like it because James comes over and is like, dude, I think you're a Bob. Oh, okay, yeah, I guess I'm a Bob. Let me go chase Bob type things. Let me go get Bob goals.
no, I love that. The reason I love it is because I speak to investors all day long, basically, a lot. And one of the common questions that
Yeah.
I always
But
get is,
anyway, that's my personal shit.
That
I
is personal shit.
"Oop."
He knows his name.
Yeah.
I get the question a lot because of what I do, and the caliber of those conversations. And the question always comes up is like, should I wholesale? Should I buy
Yeah.
and hold? Should I fix and flip? Yeah,
F
you
if I
tell me
know.
what should I do? And I'm like, I don't know. Who
Yeah.
are you?
Yeah.
What do you want in life? If you have a picture sitting next to your computer, what's going on there?
Yeah.
Then we can come back and we could start to actually talk about that and figure out which lane. Because, and I'm sure you probably tell people this all the time too. It's not my position or my job to dictate what you're doing in what you're doing for business and what you're doing in your life. I'm simply here to help guide you and help give you that clarity that you need along the way and let you know that yeah, you're doing this the right way and you're doing it to your true natural self. That you're sticking within that purpose, within that passion.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah. I mean, who am I to tell you what it, I mean, my life experiences are different. Like I grew up in a family of seven and I had certain privileges that you didn't have and all that like so like it's so unfair to be like, well, what would you do? Be like, well, I would do it totally different, but my name's not James. My name's Creighton. So I'm gonna put on a Creighton shirt and you're gonna have to put on a James beard. Like I wouldn't have a beard. I wouldn't wear a beanie. Like my hair does not do good and my head gets too hot when I wear hats. Like why are you asking me about that? I would never do these other things, but all of a sudden when it comes to this, you think that I can be you? Like that's insane. But it's so normal. And we can go back to like the problem is I mean, I'll go on a whole soapbox. Like we weren't taught how to be a human in at ever in our lives. We were never taught how to emotionally regulate. We were never taught how to think, God forbid. We were just taught to obey and sit and do what everyone else memorize this, recite this, don't think about this. Did you do it the best? Here's a grade. Like that's what we were trained. So it's not any of our faults either. So like when people are like, "Oh my gosh, I'm lost" or whatever, I'm like, "Yeah, I get it. I've been there. Like there's no harm to you. Like it's not your fault. You just weren't trained to be no different." Like I always talk about this analogy. Like I think emotions and being human is just like learning a language. Like no one can be mad at me for growing up in America and not knowing how to speak Mandarin or Russian. Like I was never taught it. Like it'd be insane for someone from Russia to come here and be like, "I can't believe you don't know Russian." Be like, yeah, I was never taught it. Like, what do you expect? So the same thing for all of this. Most of us were never taught what emotions are, why we have it, how to deal with the inner child stuff, anything about psychology, any of these things. So no wonder why we're all mentally a mess and just striving for things that we pray. I remember praying at night like, God, please just let this thing finally make me happy. God, please let me have this thing that'll finally make me feel like I'm enough. And God's like, okay, cool, here you go. Good luck with that. So yeah, I mean, so if any of you guys are going through that, like, don't be mad at yourself. Like we just were never taught any of this stuff. But now that you do know, it kind of sucks because now you know that you're making a choice to stay the same. And that's one of the hardest things out there is like, okay, cool. Now I have awareness that I've been checked out or I've just been pursuing all these things that are other people's goals. Now I have to do the really hard work, which is figuring out who you are and what it is that you want. But the coolest thing, kind of like what James is talking about, like once you get clarity of your identity, who you are, your identity controls literally your thoughts, your emotions, your decisions, your behaviors, because you know who and what you are. Like James is talking about, like those are your filters.
100%. We had Elena Bartosh. I know you know of her. She was in here, I think it was 2 weeks ago. She spoke just for a couple minutes. And a lot of that is what, we've been working on. And she started to talk about how, like, over a year, she'd gone through quite a few partners. She'd gone through quite a few team members, quite a few higher level, operations managers within her business. And with that, she's also gone through multiple strategies and trying to figure something out, and being able to make just that little shift and start building something out true to who she was, like this, being able to set those values, being able to put that in the forefront. It's one of the many reasons I love the values first leadership, especially if you want to own a business and you want to be an entrepreneur and you want to be at a higher level. And within a short couple of weeks, she started having conversations with people to bring into her business. And it wasn't many. It wasn't like we'd have to go through 200 people. I think it was three, actually, because of being able to put those filters in place.
Mm.
And we were talking the other day, and she was letting me know, she's like, I was crying when I had to tell two of them that I made my decision on the first person.
Mm.
And one of the things that she had said is, she was like, I don't know what it is, because I asked what her confidence level was. And she was like, my confidence level, she was like, it's better than what I would have told you before we started talking a little bit today. She's like, I feel like I finally am attracting the people that I deserve, the people that I have been working so hard to actually bring into my circle and really make these things happen. And she's way more hopeful about what that's going to look like for her now.
Yeah. And I mean, if you are ever, I talk about this a lot, that if you're ever confused, it just means you lack clarity. Because if you have clarity, the confusion goes away. If I know who I am and what I want, you're no longer confused. And also it goes back to like when you have clarity of who you are, what you want, your identity, all these things, then it removes all the things that you're not going to tolerate. And I mean, I'm just going to throw out all the catchphrases, but when you know what it is you want, you know what to say no to, right? Because if you say yes to one thing, you say no to everything else. But if you don't know what to say yes to, you say yes to everything. And that's why I see so many people doing the shiny object. Should I do this? Should I do this? Should I? It sounds like you're really confused. Yeah, I'm really confused. Cool, let's get some clarity. No, Creighton, just tell me, should I do this or should I do that? No idea. What do you want? I have no idea. That's why you're chasing all these squirrels. Because if you know, again, going back to something as simple as a name, if you know what your name is, you know what it is to write down. So anytime you guys ever find yourself overwhelmed or confused, go back and ask yourself the question of like, who am I? And is this what I actually want? Or what do I want? And that'll remove that confusion real quick. But most of us do, and when I say most, I'm including me because I'm a human too, that we do so much of the productive procrastination. Oh, let me build this system. Let me do this. Let me do this. And Allie, no, thank you. And what usually is happening when we're doing that is we're doing all this productive procrastination like a squirrel getting all these nuts because we're afraid of the bigger monster. And so whenever you find yourself like spiraling or doing any, I know you guys probably do like a lot of systems and stuff like that. I would challenge you when you're in your systems, like, am I doing this because it's necessary or am I doing this because I'm afraid of something? Because I have a feeling, and if I'm talking to Creighton, it's usually because I'm afraid of making that call or I'm afraid of reaching out to that person. So I'm going to go do these other things that make me avoid the fear that I'm actually needing to face. And so I'll spend 6 months creating a website, creating a funnel, and then being like, crap, now I actually have to do the thing that I've been procrastinating this whole time. And I literally just wasted 6 months and I built this thing that no one even cares about because I didn't even go get the information that I actually needed at the beginning.
Oh
So
man, the
whenever you guys are
decision
in
making.
these things and building, I would challenge you of asking yourself, what am I really afraid of? And is this really necessary? Or is this one of those conditionals of like, once I get this, then I'll be able to duh. Because if it's that, you should be doing the duh first.
Yeah. Haley likes to call them money making activities. I hear it all the time.
Yeah,
If I'm doing something, it's like, are you doing money making activities? It's
for sure.
like, and I love the way that
But
Maxwell put it, because I quote Maxwell a lot too.
mhm.
Um, is what I'm doing right now, or is this decision that I'm making, is it going to move the needle forward or is it going to stall it out?
But I think so many
And
of us are so good at manipulating ourselves. I mean,
yeah,
I'm so good at, I remember when I was doing engineering and going into all my tests, I would always convince myself out of the right answer. Like I can tell you probably more times than not. So I think going into that, if you ask me, hey, is this money making activity? I can give you a whole thesis on why I believe it. Well, once I do this, then this is going to happen. And then once this happens, this, and then this, and then I'm a millionaire, James, all because I did this funnel, all because I've been doing this thing. So that's where I would challenge you to flip it of what fear are you running from? Because I guarantee the money making activity is on the other side of you overcoming that fear. But if you're playing it safe and doing the things that are comfortable, I think Jim Rohn talks about this, that comfort creates casualties, something like that. It's so true. Like
yeah,
if you aren't growing, you're literally dying.
hmm
And so I mean, my whole coaching, everything that I do is I always want to get to the feeling. What is the feeling? Not as what is the activity? What, like, I don't care about any of that. Let's get to the root. Let's get to the feeling. What are you avoiding? What feeling are you avoiding? Are you avoiding shame? Are you avoiding regret? Are you avoiding sadness? Are you avoiding, like, who cares about what the thing is? I need to know what the feeling is, because until you deal with that feeling, everything else is just a band-aid on a big wound. And I guarantee, like I was talking about, okay, first it's the script, and then it's how do I close, and then it's the private money, and then like if we just would have got to the root of fear of rejection or whatever, like it would solve all those problems. I remember someone coming in, and I know that they were so good at communicating that they came in and they're like, Creighton, I'm doing the cold calling, it's all working great, but now can you do a role play with me on how to close someone? And I'm just like, that's not the problem. And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, I've heard you talk, like you're really good at communicating. Like, what are you afraid of? And she was like, oh, well, I'm afraid that I'm going to mess up. And I'm like, cool. Well, if you mess up, what happens next? Well, then my partners are going to fire me. Okay, so your story is if I make this call and I fail, that you're going to lose your job. Yeah. I was like, cool. Do you know that that's true? Did your partners tell you that? She's like, no. I'm like, cool, can we have a conversation with them and find out? And so she did, and they didn't care at all. They go, actually, we want you to fail more. So now that story's gone. But so many of us have these stories or whatever, and so we have to get to the root of the thing. What I think there's another cool saying of change the root, change the fruit. And so I think so many of us are just always trying to change the fruit of the tree, not realizing that this is silly. It's like literally going around like to having an apple tree and be like, instead of red apples, I want them to be green, and spray painting them green. Be like, cool, I have a green apple. Like, no, it's still a red apple in disguise. So let's get to the root so we can actually change that. Because once you change those things, that's how you literally become unstoppable in your life. But so many of us are just always at surface level of so many things.
oh, 100%. And I feel like as business operators, we do it a lot. Tend to
Oh
do it all
yeah.
the time, even when we're putting, like when we have a team or we have anybody that's coming in, is, just like you said, being able to get to the root problem, but also having that conversation and facing that. We've experienced it within our own business more than a handful of times. I was speaking with somebody a couple weeks ago, and that was honestly, that was the biggest roadblock that they had in their business. She was so afraid that if she let the other partners know that she felt like she was the one holding everything together and doing all the work, they would take it as, she was calling them lazy or anything like that. And I'm like,
Right.
hey, did you even have the conversation with them yet? Did you let them know how you're feeling? Did you guys sit
Yeah.
down? We jumped out 3 days later. She's like, oh my God, I can breathe. She's like,
Yeah.
I can breathe.
We
She goes,
create our
things are
own
going so
prisons.
much
It's so
better.
insane that we go around thinking like it's all of us having this God complex, which is actually literally just the enemy talking to us. But like we go around thinking, I know that this person's thinking, I know when they said that they meant this. I know, you don't know, you don't even know your own stupid thoughts. You don't even know who you are. You don't know who you are. How could you ever know what's going on in someone else's head, you idiot? You don't even know who you are. How are you supposed to know who they are? How are you supposed to know what they meant? You don't even know what you mean. Like it's insane that we go around our lives thinking this, like, oh, I'm certain that they meant that when they said that, or I'm certain that this is what's gonna. You're an idiot. You're human. You don't know, but you think that you know, and that's the problem. I mean, one of my favorite things is like when in doubt, check it out. So whenever someone says something like, "Oh man, you said that that really hurt me. Is that what you meant?" And they're like, "No, not at all. Why are you such an idiot?" Be like, "Well, because I grew up with these parents and this happened when I was 6 and 7." And that, like, oh, okay,
Get curious.
yeah,
Always get
always,
curious.
always, always. I don't know. Like, do we want to open it up and have a couple questions? I mean, because I can keep talking about all this theoretical of like your identity is so important and how to get confidence and clarity but like these are all cool bumper stickers. But like I know how impactful emotions are. I mean, my last soapbox, and then let's open it up. But like it's so crazy how we think logic rules the world, but like it's not true because if we think about anything like the addict that's out there with a needle in his arm or the person that's an alcoholic or the person that's cheating on their wife or whatever the thing is, that person is not using logic. Logically, they know they shouldn't be doing this. Logically, they know they shouldn't be throwing their marriage away. Logically, they should know they shouldn't be going after the drug. But so if it's not logic, what is it that controls them? Emotions, feelings.
Hmm.
Feelings will trump logic day in and day out. And most of us are going through our life on a daily basis, literally letting our feelings dictate our actions. I don't feel like calling. I don't feel like doing this. I don't feel like, who cares? And this is where it's so important. It's imperative in our lives that we have clarity over who we are and what it is we want. Otherwise, we literally run our whole life based on feel. Well, I don't feel like exercising. I don't feel like being nice. I don't feel. Oh, wow. I wonder why I'm so depressed. I wonder why all these things are terrible in my life. It's because you just have been letting your feelings dictate. And it's not a bad thing, but it's literally no different than an addict. Like it's so easy for us to judge. And I can't believe that you would let yourself do that. I can't believe that you're throwing your life away. I can't believe that you're letting this substance do. Most of us are doing the same thing in our lives. It's uncomfortable for me to call. It's uncomfortable for me to do this. I'm letting all my feelings dictate my actions. We're literally no different than the addicts out there. So having clarity over who you are, what it is you want, and knowing how to overcome the feelings that we're going to get throughout the day of having a system and having a plan. I mean, probably the same thing that you guys are building. Like we should have that for ourselves. I mean, if we don't know how to operate this machine, like good luck in life. Because then you're just a victim to whatever life throws at you. Well, I guess this is just who I am. Well, I guess this is just how I respond. I guess I'm just an angry person. I guess I just am whatever life makes me. Instead of deciding, no, this is who I'm going to be, and this is how I'm going to try to overcome these feelings. And this is the system, and this is the process. These are the steps. This is the accountability. This is how I'm going to set myself up for success. But most of us go through life as just the victim. We're like, oh, that happens. This is just what I do. But I can tell you from studying all the psychology, all this stuff, that the way that you just became yourself, you can just become anyone that you want. I mean, we know so much about neuroplasticity. If I told you this is red, this is red, this is red, this is red, this is red every single day for like a year, you're going to start to be like, wow, I wonder if that actually is red. And then one day you're going to believe that this is red. No different than this thing isn't really black. We just have associated that this is black. And it's the same thing for any of the other beliefs or identities we have in our life. You just told it over and over and over again. So now you associate that that's who and what you are, and that's how you respond. But if I guarantee, if we had you write down every single day, your name's Carl, my name's Carl, my name's Carl, it's going to feel really weird at the beginning, but after 2 years, you're going to believe that you actually are a Carl. And if you can do that about your name, that is your identity. You can literally do it about anything else in your life. Because what does a Carl do? When he sits down and writes his name, he starts with the C, and then he does an A, and then he does an R, and then he does an L. That's what a Carl does. And so if you can do that, a Carl writes C-A-R-L every single time he sees Dame. You can do the same thing with any other thing you want in your life. I want to be someone that's nice. I want to be someone that's patient. I want to be this. Like, cool, let's get to work. Yeah, he likes pizza. Crazy Carl.
100%. It's it's kind of like what one of the things that Maxwell said. You know, we lead our lives all the way up to this point. We have no idea, we have no understanding of why we're in the predicaments that we're in or why things are going on. And it's not until we stop and we do get clear and we do get a little bit of an understanding of ourselves. One of the phrases that stuck out that he had said was, you don't know where you've been if you don't know where you're going.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so many of us, I mean, myself included, like I have to remind myself throughout the day. I mean, one of the biggest things in my coaching that I think people always say at the end is they're like, man, I don't know how you did it, but like I've never been so present in my life. I'm like, whoa, that's interesting because that's what I want, but I never actually have any coaching that's specific to presence. But if you aren't present, you're not able to see what you've done and decide what you want. You just are literally a machine going through life on autopilot. But as soon as you can get present, hello, where am I? Hello, what do I want? Hello, who am I? Hello, what am I going to choose? You get to change everything. But if you aren't able to be present, you can't actually decide what's next. You just go through the motion. And that's literally what used to be for me. My kids made me mad or whatever. I just responded. I wasn't able to be present to decide, who do I want to be? What is it that I actually want here? I just reacted. But once you start to learn how to become present inside your life, you don't react, you choose your response. And that's when everything changes. You'll still feel the same. Like my kids will annoy the hell out of me. But before I'd just be like, I'm annoyed, I react. But now I'm annoyed, I choose my response. Totally different.
Proactiveness versus reactiveness. If yeah, you have to have a life's plan. And you know, it all comes back to earlier what we were talking about with other people having blueprints and chasing that shiny object and trying, you know, one new blueprint after another. If you don't have a life's plan, you don't start developing that, you're going to fall to somebody else's plan, and what they have planned for you isn't much.
Yeah. 100%. Or it's totally wrong. You put on someone else's pants and you're just like, man, these pants suck.
They don't fit.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know how much time we have you for this evening, but I'd definitely love to open the floor up and allow a couple people to get a few minutes of your time to speak to you.
Yeah. If anyone has a quick question or anything that they feel like they want to ask, by all means, either unmute or put it in the chat. I can do like maybe another 10 minutes here and then I got to run down for my own dinner. But oops.
Finally get off of Zoom for a
There you
chat.
go. I know, man. But I love this. Like
Yeah.
I just because I know what it was like to be there. I mean, I remember what it was like having everything and feeling nothing. And
Right.
that's one of the things that started to happen to me as I used to have so many investors and real estate people. Creighton, can you show me how to make money? Can you show me how to build my portfolio? I'm like, I can, but I don't want you to get divorced and I don't want you to check out of your life.
Right.
So it's like, can we start working on your relationship? Can we start working on yourself? And once we started to do that, I was like, this is so much more exciting. because I don't want you to get to the goals that don't even matter, because you're going to get there. And even Michael Phelps talked about this. Like, he thought that once he got a gold, he would finally be enough, but it wasn't. And so that became his addiction. He's like, cool, I got to get the next one. I got to get the next one. I got to get the next one. And when he wasn't getting anything in between, he was so depressed. And that's what happens to a lot of us high achievers. It's like, cool, once I get 100,000, then I'll be happy. So there's 364 days of that year that you're totally miserable and you're not going to be motivated. And you probably won't even get to the goal that you want because you're not producing the dopamine, which is actually going to give you the drive to keep moving. So if you can reframe it, instead of being like, okay, I want to get to this goal, it's like, I want to set up my day so that I'm actually enjoying based upon what are my values and what are my priorities. Because when I hit those, now I'm excited and now I am giving dopamine, which is giving you the drive to keep moving forward towards the goal. But so many people set a goal, and when they don't hit it, they just beat themselves up and just keep kicking the carrot down the road.
Facts.
Financial freedom is one of those. And I know, Creighton, I know you've heard that one a lot. I hear it from a lot of people. It's like, why are you doing this? Oh, financial freedom. Okay, then what? What happens when you get to that point?
Well, one of
What
the
does that
worst,
look
this is how I know someone's never going to get, so I apologize if this punches anyone in the face, but I hear this from a lot of people. Okay, I want to get financial freedom. Why? Because I wanted to sit on a beach and do nothing. Be like, awesome. That behavioral pattern that you just want to sit and do nothing is the reason why you're never going to actually get to the goal that you want. Because until you change that behavioral pattern in your life of just wanting to be complacent and be comfortable, you're never going to actually do anything. So congratulations. The thing that you want to get to, you're at right now. You just don't have the money, but you're literally doing the thing that you want to get to. So be careful. Like, to me, everything comes down to feeling, and what is the behavioral pattern that you need to create to become whatever it is that you want. Sorry, go ahead, George. Did you have a question? Or Megan has her hand up.
No, I was just gonna, I guess, reiterate what you said of your accomplishments and how you're getting that dopamine of being part of a multi sibling family, to where it was competing, to where for me it was like the opposite of not being enough, but always settling for not being enough until coming around this community, like with James and so many people within the sub 2 community, like, oh, you are this, I am, like, okay. And so slowly figuring stuff out to where I was always part of a system, whether it was in the post office or the army, and doing all right in there, but I wasn't fulfilled until I took that leap of faith, but still kind of saying, like, what is financial freedom? Like,
Yeah.
I had money. I don't have money right now too much, but I'm still happy. But eventually it is getting to where I want to get to. But just wanted to share that, like, kind of like the similar, like you're saying, people from different backgrounds can only tell you so
Yeah.
much.
Yeah. And I love that. And my whole thing is love where you're at, because it's going to allow you to get where you want to go. But if you don't love where you're at, like most people are like, oh my gosh, once I get this, then I'll finally be happy. Happiness doesn't come tomorrow, it's created today. So if you
Right.
can't create a way to be happy today, I guarantee it's not waiting for you on the other side of your pillow in the morning. But most of
That's
us
what
think
George
that,
is
oh
always
my
saying,
gosh,
man.
one day I'm going to finally be. No, you're not. That's like, okay, one day I'm going to finally be in shape. Not if you're not working out today.
Exactly. Appreciate it.
That's
Yeah,
why George
definitely,
is
man.
always
Thanks.
here with
Thanks
a
for
smile. I'm proud of you too, bro.
go ahead, Megan.
I gotta ask, what's your favorite shirt to wear in these Zooms?
So I don't know if you guys know Nathaniel Hosepian.
Sapien.
Yeah.
Shirtless Nathaniel.
Yeah, that is my preference. I put on a tank top for everyone else, but yeah, I don't like shirts. Most of them don't fit me well. I'm semi-muscular and I'm pretty small, like my torso. So if I get a shirt that fits my chest and my back so it doesn't go in my armpit, it's like a large and it goes down
to
to
your
my
knees.
knees. Yeah. So if I get one that fits my torso, then it's always in my armpits and it just rubs all day long. So yeah, a 90 would be nice. Or moo something like that. Cool. Well, if you guys don't have any more questions, I'm gonna go grab some food. Any other questions or anything else you got, James, before I jump out?
now that I have, I want to just take a quick second and thank you and let you know I appreciate you being
Yeah.
able to give some time to everybody that's in here and
Yeah.
speak to them. And
For sure. And I hope, like, I mean, I don't know if you guys can, like, I don't want this to be theoretical. Like, I don't want this just to be more information, but I hope if let me do this so that I'm not leaving it up to you guys because, you know, we're all human. Like, this is what I want from you guys. I want you guys to spend 10 minutes a day, 5 days a week of just sitting, writing out what do you want? Get clarity of who you are. And then once you have that, and if you go to sit down, I was talking about this today, but like if you go to sit down and you're like, I don't know, then go with that. Be like, write down, I don't know, but I want to figure this out. And if you need to, one of the things we can do from a psychological standpoint, if we can't create possibilities, sometimes it's good for us to reflect on what we don't want. So if you sit down like, I don't know who I want to be, I don't know what it is that I want, cool. What is it you don't want? And then start writing that down. And once you start writing that down, you'll be like, okay, cool. What's the opposite of that? That's this. Oh, okay. I guess this is actually what I want. But be committed to it. And like, it's so crazy that we'll spend years of our lives. And when I say that, I mean me, 13 years of my life being an engineer, realizing it's not what I wanted. Like, but we're like, oh my gosh, I sat down for 10 minutes and I couldn't figure it out. Like, okay, well, keep trying, keep going, keep going, keep going. Cause I guarantee I do this for a lot of my clients that come in for coaching. Like, they'll do it for 3 weeks. And on the third week, you finally will give in. If you force yourself to sit for 10 to 15 minutes every single day, I'm not going to do anything. I'm not going to let myself get distracted. I'm just going to sit and think, what do I want? Who do I want to be? And I'm going to fight, because the first week you're going to be like, oh my gosh, this is boring. This is terrible. This is stupid. Creighton's an idiot. But if you keep persevering and keep pushing, you're getting past your comfort and you're going to finally start to create something real. So do that. And then the other thing, not only get clarity of who you are, what it is you want, and then once you have that, start asking yourself, what am I running away from on a daily basis? You won't want the answer to that one. That one sucks. But what is the thing that I'm running from? So whenever you're making a decision, ask yourself, what am I really running from? What am I afraid of here? And then ask yourself, do I want to continue to let this thing dictate my life? And maybe your answer is, yeah, you know what? I don't want to deal with that dragon right now. I'm okay, Creighton. This is cool. And again, that's fine. But at least you know what you're saying. Hey, you know what? This is too big. This is too scary. I don't want to deal with this yet. Okay, cool. But I guarantee until you learn to deal with this, it's going to be waiting for you on the other side of your pillow in the morning when you wake up. You're going to be like, oh, damn, you're still here. Be like, yeah, I'm not going anywhere until you fight me. I'm going to go back to sleep. We'll see what happens tomorrow. It's like, hello, I'm still here. Like, damn. Okay, you know what? Let me go work on this website. Let me go work on this funnel. Let me go work on this thing. So, yeah, watch out for that. It's waiting. Okay. Anything else, James?
no, again, dude, thank you so much. I
No, thank you
appreciate
all.
you bringing
Love
this
you all.
time.
Yeah, if there's anything I can help out with, you can reach out to me if you're not already following me on Instagram at, oh, I guess I can probably put it in here. Oh, here. That's where I'm actually doing anything. So if you want to message me, ask me anything, Creighton Bertrand or Creighton_Bertrand. Otherwise, go be amazing. Go get some clarity. Go listen to James. He knows what he's talking about.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate
All right.
it.
Later, guys.
We'll talk soon, man.
Okay.
And that was my man Creighton. Heavy, heavy, heavy on mindset. I've learned a lot from him over the last year, that has helped me excel and do quite a few of the things that I've been able to do. So I was very appreciative of him being able to come on here tonight. So for the new faces that are here, the way that I run these Zooms, I do this every Thursday. I typically go about a half an hour to an hour, or sorry, not a half an hour, 45 minutes to an hour of anything tactical, whether it's a lesson plan that I have or a guest that comes on. And then we move into a Q&A, and then we have what I like to call the after hour session, to where anybody that's still kicking around, there's no obligation to stay and continue to be here. We talk about everything from mindset to leadership to business to family to haircuts to you name it. So I just wanted to let you guys know that we are rolling into that section of the evening.